Okay, so this is just going to be an introduction to doing basic things with Stata. So once you've pulled it up on the VCL, you can double click on the Stata link, and from there you're going to want to go ahead and open whatever data set you want to use. So we'll open it up, and then we'll find the data set we want to use, which this time is going to be the Add Health 2 data set. So you'll click on that and then hit open. Okay, so now your data set is open, and if you want to look at a particular variable from the set, you're going to always type tab first and then a space and then whatever variable you want to look at. So there's a variable called body image, and if you tab body image, then it'll show you that this shows how people classified how they felt about their bodies. This is a categorical variable, which you'll see if you type in tab body image and then NOL, which stands for no label. And when you do that, it changes the category names to numbers. So if you wanted to look at a different variable, you'd do the same thing. For instance, if you wanted to see what their actual body weights were, you could do tab real body, and it would show you that under, normal, over, and obese were the responses for that, and that you can also tab real body, no label, once again, to see that because it is a categorical variable, you can put it into columns or categories based on numbers also. So if, for instance, you want to compare two of these, if you wanted to compare body image and real body, you would be able to do that by making your X variable the your row and your Y variable the column. So for instance, you would type tab body, tab body image, which is your X variable, and then real body, which is your Y variable, and then row column. And when you hit enter, if you hit more, then the rest of it will show up. And this compares the two of these, and if you scroll up, you can see this key here, and that tells you what each of these numbers stands for. So the top number here is the frequency, and the middle number is your row percentage, and the last number is your column percentage. Okay. Now those were two examples of how you could look at and compare categorical variables, but you can also look at a continuous variable on Stata. And so an example of that would be if we wanted to look at, for instance, BMI. So if you hit tab BMI, then you can see that this is a continuous variable, and if you hit more, it'll just keep on showing more and more numbers. And if you don't hit the red X up here to break it, then it'll keep showing you all of the numbers for the entire data set. So you're going to want to break it so that you can continue with your commands. And since this is a continuous variable, there's lots of entries, so you're going to want a simpler way to look at what all the values are. So for instance, you can do sum BMI, and it'll show you the number of observations for BMI, what the mean, standard deviation, minimum and maximum are. And it also works if you do SU BMI. It's the same thing. The other thing that you can do is look at percentiles. So if you want to do that, you can do sum BMI, comma detail, or DET. And then you can look at the, for instance, here the median is 21.79, and in your top quartile you have 24.8 and above, and in your bottom quartile you have 19.7 and below. So this just gives you a better idea of what the entire data set says without having to actually look at the entire data set. Now, if for instance you want to compare a categorical variable and a continuous variable, you can do that as well. And you would do that by, for instance, one of our categorical variables was real body. You can tab real body by sum BMI. And then that will give you some statistics about the mean of people or what the mean BMI of underweight people is. So for instance here it's 17.4. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do is I'll show you how you can recode a variable that's continuous like BMI and generate a new variable so that it's easier to work with. So later on when you learn how to do z-tests of proportions or t-tests of means, then it might be easier to work with a variable that you've made dichotomous or that you've made into a categorical variable if you're trying to do a chi-squared test or something like that. So for instance with BMI, if we wanted to make this into something that's easier to run tests on, you could for instance look at the BMI of the top 75%, so the top quartile, and maybe you want to name that high BMI. So to do so, you would type in the box recode BMI, and then you would say, for instance, a BMI of 0 through 24.85353, which came from the fact that here that was your median. At 50% of people were below that, and 50%, oh sorry, that was here at 75%. So the top quartile has 24.85, a BMI of 24.85 and above. So you would say that equals 0 because your new variable is going to be high BMI, and 0 always stands for yes while 1 always stands for no. And so for your other one it would be 24.85, oh sorry, 8353, is that right? 8, 5. Well anyway, you could round off if you really wanted to. 85353. There we go. Through whatever the largest value was, and you can see here that it was 54.8, and you could just say through 55, and then you'll say comma and then generate, and then whatever you want the name of your new variable to be, and it can be anything. I think I said earlier that we were going to say it's high BMI, so you'd say generate high BMI. Oops, did something wrong. Let's see. Okay, sorry about that. Meant to put equals 1 here. So if you want to get everything that you just typed to come back up, you can always just click on it again and then go in and change whatever you did wrong. So here that should have been equal to 1, and then hit enter, and then you can tab to see your new variable, which is now going to be dichotomous because you split it up into 2 categories, which would be high BMI and low BMI. So there are your numbers for that. Okay, so now you have a new variable which might be easier to work with rather than having a long continuous variable. And when you're done in Stata, if you go to File and Log, Close. Oh, did I forget to open the log? Oops, okay. Well, I thought I opened log to begin with. I guess I didn't. But at the beginning, at the very beginning, after you open your data set, or before you open your data set, you would go to File, Log, Begin, and that'll start saving your log, and then at the end you go to File, Log, Close, and that will automatically save your log, and it'll be in a format that you can open in Word, so you won't actually have to be on Stata to be able to see what you did. And when you do begin your log, so I'll just show you here, when you begin your log, it'll ask you how you want to save it. And instead of saving it at .smcl, you're going to actually want to save it at .log. If you don't save it in this format, then you won't actually be able to see it in Word. So I'll save this as video 1. And so obviously, since I logged it at the end, it's not actually going to save anything. But if you'd done it at the beginning, it would have saved all of the changes that we'd done before, and then when you hit log close, it would have saved everything that you'd done until that point. So that's how you do some cool introductory stuff in Stata. Thanks.